We have got such a weekend of sport on this side of the ditch, mate. We've got Saturday, we've got the All Blacks kicking off the Rugby World Cup, and then, of course, all eyes on Saturday night as the Warriors go to the Panthers. Let's start, though, going through all four games. So we'll tease people. We'll just let them wait for that Panthers-Warriors matchup. Broncos against Storm. 2 plays 3 on Friday night. And every Broncos fan that I know that I've been talking to, mate, is very nervous about this, given the fact that they can't seem to beat this team.
Yeah, you're right, Marty. I was speaking to your producer before we come on air, and we're both discussing how this final series has thrown up 4 fantastic games that kind of could go either way. And I think we will see a couple of upsets. I'm not sure which ones, but this first game tomorrow night is a really intriguing one. You mentioned the hoodoo that the Storm have over the Broncos, but you know what they say, man. Hoodoo's always made to be broken, and I think on paper, I honestly think on paper this Broncos team has got what it takes. You know, Reece Walsh has been in sublime form, and their 2 centres in Farnsworth and Staggs have been fantastic. The unsung heroes like Billy Walters and Ezra Mam have been awesome. And then you throw in the artillery with Payne and Pat Carrigan. They're a complete team. They are a complete team. When you look at Melbourne Storm, obviously the one player stands out for them, and that's Cameron Munster. He's been quite, I would say, by his lofty standards this season. He's due to break out. Could it be this game tomorrow night? Possibly. But I think the hoodoo will be broken tomorrow night. I think the Broncos might get it, Marty.
Just a better team, you think? And, you know, that's been evident the way they've played this year? Yeah, look, and when I look at the Storm backline, and I see no Justin Olam and I see no Remus Smith, I don't get really scared by the guys they've put in there. Young Tona Lapia and Sevi, they've been solid, but without being spectacular. And this is a new competition now, don't forget. I would never question Craig Bellamy's selection process, but I know that I'd be more worried about Justin Olam than I would be about one of these other guys playing centre if I'm the Broncos. So, obviously, Nelson Asafa Solomon is one of their linchpins. He's got a presence. Harry Grant's the danger man, I think, for the Broncos out of dummy half. And I think, this is the reason that the Broncos bought Reynolds. Adam Reynolds was bought to the Broncos for this particular moment in time. This is where he's a big game player. He's won a competition. All South Sydney fans are up in arms because they wouldn't give him an extra year on his contract. Well, now look how South are going compared to the Brisbane Broncos. That proves to be a diabolical decision to get rid of Adam Reynolds because he's on the cusp of something really good with the Broncos, and I think we're going to see it tomorrow night. I love your analysis, mate. That's why we get you on the program. It's so good to talk to you again. Appreciate your time so much. Panthers versus Warriors. Warriors are at the longest odds in sports bet. And this, these 3 teams, the Panthers, the Broncos and the Storm, the 3 teams that the Warriors, have played once this year each, haven't been able to beat. Trying to get over one of these teams. This feels like the next big step for this Warriors side. Would you agree?
It certainly is. Yeah, it definitely is. It's it's been a while between drinks for the New Zealand Warriors as far as big game footy players, and I think we go back to 2011 and then before that 2001. So they're due, and I think the way they've played this year has been so refreshing. It's been such a great thing to watching the New Zealand Warriors of 2023. They're throwing gay abandon to the wind. They're doing things, and look, the coach can take a lot of accolades for that. Andrew Webster, I think he's released the shackles somewhat. He's simplified things. Barnett's been a great signing. Dylan Walker's playing career best footy coming off the bench, and Sean Johnson's the favourite for the Dally M medal, playing the type of footy that we all know SJ's got. Then you're throwing the big boppers up front with Adam Fanua-Blake and Tohu Harris, who have been a presence on the field. I think Adam Fanua-Blake will be in the Dally M Team of the Year, along with Payne Haas as the 2 best front rowers in the competition. Wade Egan is probably one of the most improved players in the competition. Dallin Watini-Lesniak. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, what a season.
What a season.
Yeah, what a season, mate. Yeah, great, eh?
I mean, then you've got Cox at the back, and then, just quietly, a bloke called Tuivasa-Sheck's coming to the team next year. I mean, this is an opportunity. This is a golden opportunity for the Warriors, and let's be frank, they're going to be they'll start big outsiders against the Penrith Panthers, but they've got nothing to lose. Either way, they get a home semi next week if they lose, if they win, or if they win, they have a week off, then get a prelim final in New Zealand. If they happen to lose against the Panthers,
well, then they go back and play another team who's below them on home deck. And I marvel at this team, how they've become what they are, because for 2.5 years, this team has lived out of a suitcase. They didn't argue, they didn't bitch, they didn't moan, there was nothing out of them. They put their head down, they were homesick, and now they're reaping the rewards of sacrifice. And I really think that most rugby league fans on this side of the ditch have the Warriors as their second team. We just want to see them. We want to see them succeed. We really do. Unfortunately, they come up against the best team. They come up against the best defensive team in the competition, the best team in the competition for the last 4 years, arguably the best team since Parramatta in that 81, 82, 83 grand final success. So they're going to have to play the game of their lives to beat Penrith, and I don't think they can beat the Panthers. I don't think they'll be embarrassed in any way, shape or form, but I just think the Penrith Panthers, with all their teams back, all their team personnel back, I think on home deck in front of this game sold out in about 15 minutes. I think it's going to be a big hill to climb for the Warriors, but I can't wait to beat it. I'm going to the game on Saturday at 4 p.m. Sydney time, 6 p.m. New Zealand time. Let's see if the Wars outrate the All Blacks in the World Cup. That'd be interesting to see.
Look, I saw that article in the Daily Telegraph. It's not going to happen, mate, and I'll give you a good reason why. Because the All Blacks are on free-to-air on Saturday morning, and so that's a huge difference. Yeah, and so look, and in the end, it doesn't really matter because we've got two teams that we're watching this weekend, and here in Kiwi land, we just want them both to win and both to play well. Sharks, and I'm going to come back to the Panthers because I want to ask you about whether or not this particular side this year is as good as the ones over the last couple. But let's move on to the Sharks versus the Roosters. I don't know that many people who are giving the Sharks a chance in this game. They're even outsiders at Sportsbet, even though they're playing at home.
Yeah, I think along with the Canberra Raiders, Marty, I think they've kind of hobbled into the finals footy. Their record against top 8 teams is pretty open and honest. They know they haven't beaten. I think they've won one game against the top 8 team this year, and they've kind of they've flooded and they've spurted and they really haven't made a dent on this competition. Well, the scene is set for someone like Nico Hines to really explode. This is the reigning Dalian medalist of the year. By his lofty standards, again, he's been quiet. He hasn't had the season that I think he would love to have. But on home deck, there's been a lot of conjecture about whether or not to move this game to a bigger stadium. Hell no. Why? What's the point of that if you're a Sharks player? You've earned the right to play a home semi-final in the current system, unless they change the rules for next year. Well, the Sharks have done nothing wrong. And I spoke to Wade Graham on our radio show here in Sydney through the week, and he said, mate, I asked him that same question. I said, where would you rather play, in front of 40,000 people at Accor Stadium, or would you rather play at home? He said at home, in front of 13,000.
Yeah,
every day of the week. I think that's a big bonus for them. That's probably worth 4 to 6 points for the Sharkies playing at home. But this Roosters team, Marty, have won 5 in a row, and they're looking like that steam train that's about to go to next year. Manu's fit. He's back this week. Sam Walker's absence from the team obviously been profound, but now he's back. He's looking really like an X factor. You've got Tedesco at the back. Jared Warrior-Hargraves is a loss, especially in these big games, because you need an enforcer. But got Lindsay Collins and Victor Radley. They've got some really. I think the Roosters will beat the Sharkies, and I think the Sharkies could bow out for season 2023.
MG as well. This big Mark Geyer, 180 premiership games, 92 of those for Penrith. Played in a couple of grand finals, lost one and won one. And that was back in 1991. Knights versus Raiders. Does anyone give the Raiders and Ricky Stewart a chance at Newcastle, who are on a 9-game tear at the moment?
Yeah, they are. The only person who gives them any chance is Ricky Stewart.
There you go.
And that's all you need. That's all you need. He would have been this game for mine is the hidden jewel of the first week of finals footy. This game again sold out in no time up there at McDonald's Jones Stadium. They're on, as you say, 9 in a row. Kalen Ponga, who had a grade 5 AC joint shoulder injury in his last game against the Sharkies. He's going to play, but he won't be 100% fit. Well, he's got to be on the field. For them to have any chance of winning this game against the Raiders and any chance of going any further in the competition, it's got to be with Kalen Ponga at fullback, because the guy this year in the last 10 weeks has been on a tear, an absolute tear. They welcome back
young, his name escaped, Hastings. Young Jackson Hastings is back, who's been another underrated player this year. Fitzgibbon goes back in the back row. They've got Best in the centres. They've got Frizzell in the back row. All things point to a Newcastle victory, but it's Ricky Stewart, and he's going to have these, Josh Papali'i not being there is a big loss, but Joseph Tapani, who I regard is one of the best players in the game, just went back-to-back in the Player of the Year awards in Canberra. He's got to produce something special. He's been a little bit down on past years as well, but as we kept saying, this is a new competition. These finals are a new competition, and I think the fact that the Knights and the Warriors haven't been there as much in the last year as, say, the Storm and the Roosters and the Panthers, I think they could play for them, because they've got no expectation, they've got no preconceived ideas about what's going to happen, and they can play the natural game. I'm really excited about these 4 games, Marty. I really am. I think it's been a sensational year. I think if we go back to the start of the year, all eyes were on the Dolphins. If they happened to have lost 5 or 6 in a row, the whole year would have been different. They would have said, the expansion's dead. Bennett's past it. These Storm players are past it. But the fact that they've come out of the blocks and they beat the Roosters, then they were on top of the table for about 3 or 4 weeks there. There's no coincidence that NRL in Sydney and the Eastern Seaboard is up in attendance by 22% this year, because of the fact I think the Fairy Tale team has started us off on a great springboard. And I think it's just gathered momentum all through the year. Origin again was a blockbuster. Now we're in the finals footy. 3 words: bring it on.